Hello everyone, welcome you all in this video lecture. So in this video, we are going to discuss about adenosine triphosphate or ATP molecule. So let's start with some introductory part and definition of adenosine triphosphate. So ATP or adenosine triphosphate is a molecule that carries energy within the cell and it is considered as the energy currency of the cell. It is a molecule which carries energy. There are many processes are going on in our body and these all needs energy for its proper functioning. We take food and nutrients to get energy, but our cells cannot use these nutrients as it is. So the glucose or the carbohydrates which we uptake with our food is converted into molecules of ATP by the process of glucose metabolism. So in this video, we will discuss about the ATP, its structure and functions. Basically, ATP captures the chemical energy during breakdown of food molecules, and after some time when our body needs the energy, it releases this energy to the other cellular processes. Now, this is the structure of ATP. Here we can see the molecule of ATP which consists of a nucleotide which is especially adenine which is made up of purine ring and a sugar which is ribose sugar and phosphate group. Here we can see the name indicates adenosine triphosphate, which means 3 phosphate groups are attached with a single molecule of ATP. Now, let's understand the ATP synthesis in cells and how ATP synthesis occur in our cells. So these molecules are synthesized by the process of cellular respiration or fermentation. But the major processes for the synthesis of ATP in our cell are oxidative phosphorylation, and in plants it is Z reaction. In human body or in eukaryotic organisms, ATP synthesis takes place in the mitochondria of the cell or in the mitochondrial matrix, where the enzyme ATP synthase is found and it converts the ADP molecules into ATP molecules. So there are some main pathways for ATP synthesis, which are glycolysis, citric acid cycle, oxidative phosphorylation. So in the process of glycolysis, the glucose molecule break down into the molecules of pyruvate acid and it generate 2 molecules of ATP. And the another process which is citric acid cycle, also known as the Krebs cycle, in this cyclic reaction, the ATP molecules are produced in this exergonic reaction. And oxidative phosphorylation is the main process by which the ATP synthesis takes place in human, because in the process of glucolysis and citric acid cycle, the enough ATP synthesis didn't take place. Now the ATP synthesis takes place by an enzyme who helps the ATP synthesis or the phosphorylation of ATP, which is known as enzyme ATP synthase. Now, let's understand the process of oxidative phosphorylation or electron transport chain, which is the major pathway by which ATP is synthesized in heterotrophic organisms or in humans. So, in the process of electron transport chain, the electrons produce large amount of energy. As we have studied in our earlier videos, the electron transport chain or the oxidative phosphorylation is the final step of cellular respiration as well as glucose metabolism. So in this process, the electron transport chain is consists of different types of enzymes and enzyme complexes, which are named as complex 1, complex 2, complex 3, complex 4. And the electrons are used to pump the protons from mitochondrial matrix to intermembrane space. So in the last 2 steps of electron transport chain, an enzyme is found which is called ATP synthase, and the ATP synthase has the ability to phosphorylate the ADP molecule, which is also called as adenosine diphosphate molecule, to phosphorylate them and convert them into ATP molecules. So thus the oxidative phosphorylation completes the process of synthesis of ATP molecules in heterotrophic organisms. Now, in the case of plants, the ATP synthesis takes place by the method of Z reaction, also known as light reaction of photosynthesis. So, in this process, the energy from light photons is used to move electrons to higher state, and these electrons are obtained from water, and the light energy which is obtained from sun is used to enhance their reducing ability. Later, these electrons take part in electron transport chain and they pass down on electron transport chain. Then they release energy that is used to pump protons from stroma of chloroplast to the lumen of thylakoid, as we have seen in the process of electron transport chain in heterotrophic animals. Now the ATP synthase is present in the thylakoid lumen. So these protons move and liberate energy, and this energy is used to phosphorylate the ADP into ATP by the enzyme ATP synthase. So this is the process of Z reaction by which ATP synthesis takes place in the case of plants. Now, with the help of this diagrammatic representation, we can see the diagram or the picture of ATP synthase molecule. Here we can see the ATP synthase is made up of two components, which are F1 ATPase, or also known as F1 component, and another one which is known as F0 component. Here we can see the F0 component of ATPase is embedded into the thylakoid membrane or mitochondrial membrane, and the F1 ATPase is found in the matrix of mitochondria or in the stroma of chloroplast. So the structure of ATP synthase, here we can see the F0 component and F1 ATPase. The F0 component contains 1 alpha subunit, 2 beta subunit and 9 to 12 C subunits. These all are shown as C subunits. And these C subunits have 2 alpha helix which span the mitochondrial membrane, and it is a transmembrane complex which forms regulated H+ channels. Now the another component is F1 component, or also called as F1 ATPase. It is tightly bound to F0 component, and this is made up of 3 alpha units, 3 beta units, gamma, delta and 1 subunit. It protrudes into the matrix of mitochondria, and here the beta subunit of F1 ATPase act as the site of ATP synthase. Now let's understand the ADP and AMP synthesis in the cell. So for ADP and ATP synthesis, the AMP molecules, which are also called as adenosine monophosphate, used as the precursor, and these AMP molecules are synthesized in the cell during the process of nucleoside synthesis. So in this process, on the molecule of ribose 5-phosphate, the purine ring is made using carbon dioxide, and this immediate product is called as inosine monophosphate or IMP. Now this IMP converted into AMP in 2 steps. So in the first step, the IMP is condensed with aspartate and form adenyl succinate, and this step needs energy which is provided by GTP, and this reaction is catalyzed by enzyme adenyl succinate synthetase enzyme. Now in the second step, this adenyl succinate loses a molecule of fumarate and form adenyl monophosphate. This step is catalyzed by adenyl succinate enzyme. So this is the process of formation of AMP molecule in the cell. Now let's understand how ATP release energy and how it acts as an energy currency for our cells. So the energy is contained in the bonds between phosphate groups of ATP. As we have seen in the structure, the molecule of ATP consists 3 molecules of phosphate, or it consists 3 phosphate groups. So when energy needed, these bonds or the outermost phosphate group is broken down by the process of hydrolysis, and this process completes with the presence of enzyme ATPase. ATPase is the enzyme which is from the class of enzymes known as hydrolase enzymes, and it hydrolyzes the bonds of ATP and converts it into ADP molecule. And the breakdown of phosphate group release energy, and this energy is used to complete the processes. So now let's understand the functions of ATP. So there are numerous functions of ATP, but there are some major functions like it acts as a signal transduction molecule which is used for cell communication. We all have known about kinases, which are very useful enzymes for the process of cell signaling, and these enzymes use ATP as the source of phosphate group. The another function of ATP is DNA synthesis because it is a nucleotide adenine which is the part of adenosine. And this adenine is formed by the ATP because it consists of the adenosine group. And similarly, the other nucleotides like guanine, cytosine and thymine are made up of GTP and CTP respectively. The ATP also helps in active transport because active transport requires energy and it gets energy from the hydrolysis of ATP by enzyme ATPase, which found in transmembrane proteins of our plasma membrane. The ATP also helps in the protein synthesis because in the process of protein synthesis or translation, it also energy dependent process and it needs energy for the activation of amino acids and for its attachment to the transfer RNA, and they get energy from ATP. Then there are many other functions like phagocytosis is also energy dependent process which also get energy from ATP, and there are neurotransmitters, movement and muscle contraction and many other functions of ATP are done in our body. So in this video, we have discussed about adenosine triphosphate, its structure, its synthesis and its functions in our body. I hope you all have discussed and learned about ATP properly. Thank you.